What we did sense when we got to Japan was a lack of animosity toward us. We expected that people would hate us because of the war. And they would say, well, no, the war was between our governments, not between the people, because we didn't have any say in it. My name is Connie, or Constance, Thurber. My husband and I served in Japan for 10 years, shortly after the end of the war, from 1948 to 53 and from 58 to 63. As we were getting closer to graduating from seminary, we got in touch with the Presbyterian Board, and they began to send us information about possible places we might work overseas. And then came something especially interesting. The Japanese church leaders sent a request for help. They were exhausted. Their spirits were down as a result of the difficulties of the war and all that had happened. The ministers were old. They needed help, and they wanted to know whether the churches in America could send them some young pastors who could could work under the Japanese church leadership. They said, we don't need evangelists because we can do that ourselves, but we do need help working with young people and with children and some of the other activities of the church. And that appealed to us very much. And then at the same time, the YMCA wondered if we could work with college students. So it ended up that we would be involved in both. We would work under the Japanese church leaders, doing what they would like us to do in the local churches, and also working especially with students in the colleges and universities. And so we were sent to Kyoto, Japan, to do all those things. We started an after-school program for the children in our neighborhood because we discovered that they really had not much to do, and they would come around our yard and like to watch what was going on at our house. So we started quite a successful after-school program for children. People were really very curious and very open, and especially the college students. Some of the things they were asking me about out of class were, well, now they expected to have their parents pick their husbands, and they felt better about that because they felt parents would have more experience than they would, so they would do a better job of it. But they did ask me if I would please make a list of the qualities that one would hope for in a husband in order of importance. So that was an interesting kind of question. Other people were asking me questions about how do you bring up children in America? And I used to be able to talk about that until I had my own, and then I began to realize that probably I was not as much of an authority as I had thought I might be. So I didn't talk about that anymore. The students in Japan were very open to new ways, to new thinking as a result of the war, and they could no longer have the same attitude about their country and their emperor, and they were somewhat at loose ends, and so they were open to learning and experiencing other sorts of things. People were very badly off because although Kyoto had no bombing at all, so that was a big advantage for them, but the pastors' families especially were hard up because the churches had not been able to support them really at all, and they were lacking clothing. There was some distribution by the government of small amounts of rice and a few other things, sweet potatoes occasionally, so that helped the diet, but people were hungry. They could not imagine having lost the war, I think, and to feel that the emperor was no longer a god, because he had said he wasn't any longer. And then what can they believe in? What could they look to? And they were open to all sorts of things, and open to communism, because the Russians were there too, and communism was rampant among the students as one of the solutions, as one of the ways of handling economics. So they were trying all kinds of ideas. But it was an exciting time with students, because they really were curious and open in a way that they hadn't been before, and soon weren't after that either. I think the church is having an even harder time now in Japan than it had for a while, because Shintoism and Buddhism are so much a part of their everyday life that it's hard not to be a part of that.